After a stroke, a really cool functional activity and a meaningful activity that promotes recovery of your stroke arm is using a lint roller or a lint catcher, or whatever. I call it a lint roller for this video. And those of you who have cats, you especially know what or even dogs too, right? I have cats and dogs, but my cats are much more hairier and furrier, and they cause more of the problems. You know what I'm talking about, right? You constantly, if you haven't given up already, have to keep up with, especially after you do laundry, with keeping that hair out of control, or even lint, even if you have no pets, right? You can, with like certain colors like black, it definitely shows up. And what's cool about doing an activity like this is, one, you can see the results as you kind of clean the surface and get it more tidy. And two, it's repetitive, because a lot of you know already with stroke recovery, if you don't know, is that the key to our stroke recovery is repetition, right? When we're like little kids and we're learning like an activity like how to walk, it takes a lot of repetition, like walk, fall, trial and error, right? After stroke, it's the same kind of concept where we have to do a lot of repetition and trial and error so that we can hopefully rebuild those connections in our brain to get our arm moving again. And what better way to do that than to use a lint roller, right? So I have two kind of common kinds that you are probably seen. One downside is that you kind of have to go in one direction. So at least with the kind I have, they have like arrows to it. The second type is the commercial kind of roller sticky tape kind, and these are very useful. And to start off, if you're gonna like decide between using one of these or to purchase one of these, I think this commercial sticky tape one, while it is less green and it creates more like garbage, it's easier to use in that it has a roller, so it's easy to slide across. And two, because the directionality doesn't matter. I can go in both directions and it'll still stick. As this is easier, I'm going to demo this one. This is probably common sense and pretty intuitive. You might never know, because after stroke, like all of a sudden our arm doesn't work as well as it used to, at least in terms of like muscle control, right? So we can all probably learn something either from my insights or from you guys in the comments who have learned even some cooler tricks along the way. So the easier thing to do is to work with something on your lap. And another reason why I really like this activity for stroke, like an exercise or activity after a stroke to promote recovery, is that it also promotes and encourage your use of your visual scanning. Because for some people after stroke, believe it or not, they may have difficulty remembering to scan their environment. So they may forget to look to the left as much as they should, or they may even forget that their arm is even there and to even use it. Level 1 method, easiest method is to use your stroke arm to stabilize the article of clothing that you're going to lint roll. Now the rest of this is pretty intuitive. You just go about your usual business. You know, if you finish one side, one corner, use your stroke arm to re-stabilize, re-clamp down that shirt so that it doesn't move. I'm using a shirt, but it can apply to any article of clothing. T-shirts, sweatshirts, pants, underwear, bras, coats, ties. Method number 2, actually using our stroke arm to do the lint rolling part. So this may not work as well with something like this because it creates a lot of friction. But with, like I said, the lint roller that you can commercially buy and like use replacements for, it may be easier to lint roll as it won't require as much friction and cause your article of clothing to slide off from where it's working. So actually, as you can see, as how I'm demonstrating on video, my clothing, you know, I can even apply a lot of force. It's not going anywhere. You're gonna have a much tougher time doing it this way with this kind of lint pad device. What I'm using is a hand over hand technique. So if you have absolutely no grip, then you can place the handle of the lint roller in and then tighten the grip using your other hand and securing it. Another kind of hack you can do, which is very helpful, is to thicken up the handle, because the thicker the handle, the easier it is to hold. Imagine holding a pencil versus like a thick like marker, right? It's going to be easier to hold that marker. That way, you might even be able to hold the lint roller once it's thicker without even using that other hand to support it and tighten up that grip. And as you have guessed, method number 3 to lint roll after a stroke is to maximize the use of your stroke arm, right? So basically to use your stroke arm to do the actual job of lint rolling. With that said, I want you guys to watch out and make sure you're not compensating or substituting, cheating basically, by lint rolling a certain way so that it's a kind of like awkward looking like this, or you're like cheating and just doing really funny in like a less natural way. What you want to look for, and this is where a mirror may help, is to have your stroke arm do it in a natural kind of motion, natural kind of position. What you would normally do is kind of reach over and across and do this, but you want to be really mindful and keep an eye out for like how you may be cheating. And for example, you may be bending forward so that your arm moves closer, right? We don't normally do that when we lint roll, right? We would just use our arm. So in those cases, don't be afraid, even though this is method number 3, to give your arm a little bit of a help so that the kind of like, what's the word, like the pattern of movement, the posture, and the smoothness and the path basically of your arm and your hand to move where it's intended to is most natural, versus kind of cheating and doing it, say, by moving my body, you know, closer to the shirt, or bringing my knee closer to this. Well, that's actually kind of would be pretty smart. Never mind. But you know what I mean? Like bringing your body up like that and kind of being really awkward about it. What you really want to kind of promote the recovery of is the actual arm moving in the more natural way, and so that we do less work, right? We're not trying to like move our entire torso and bring our knee back like that. What we normally would do is, without the stroke arm, for example, is just reach across and do it like that. So don't be afraid to go back to kind of a combination approach, I guess, of method 2 and 3. So I guess I'll call this 2.5, is to have your stroke arm do as much as it can, and then when it needs a little bit of help, 2.5, bring it across with my other hand so that I can actually reach and need more support and still get the job done, but do it in a more natural kind of pattern and path without compensating and doing awkward kind of positions. So I hope this helps with stroke recovery. That's repetition, 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 right? So what better way than to do that with seeing results, getting something done, like a clean shirt we can wear, or underwear, pants, whatever, and our stroke recovery. So with that said, keep practicing, take your time, and try variations of this method. You can start from method number 1, but I highly recommend that you start with method number 2 actually, as it promotes your stroke arm and using it for actually something functional and activity that is you can see results in. So as this is YouTube, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff so that I know to make more of this kind of content for you guys on YouTube. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of these techniques? Or have you tried something that you learned something that can be even more helpful? Is there something even cooler than, more functional than this that you know about that may be helpful for stroke recovery and doing this task of lint rolling? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.